Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever in the world you are. Our friends across the Limpopo are at it again. In November last year, the ANC had their party congress, in which one of the resolutions was that they would not let regime change happen in Zimbabwe. This is nauseating, infuriating. Who is responsible for deciding whether there should be regime change in Zimbabwe? It is the Zimbabwean people. In a free, fair, and credible election, they, their democratic decision must be respected. If if the result is that they want a regime change, who is the ANC to say they're not going to allow regime change? What we have here is a problem. It is no secret that our friends south of the Limpopo, ANC, have been in power for nearly 30 years. In fact, it will be 30 years next year. And South Africa's economy is in a mess. 30 years of mediocre and or downright corrupt and incompetent leaders have taken a heavy toll on that country's once upon a time robust economy and infrastructure. The current problem they are facing is load shedding. And to be quite honest, the ANC's government has no clue how to fix it. The ANC is now looking at the elections, the 2023 elections in Zimbabwe, with a view of if there was to be regime change in Zimbabwe, especially if that regime change was to deliver meaningful economic recovery in Zimbabwe, that would give the people of South Africa the courage to seek to change ANC in South Africa. This is what is worrying the ANC government. And therefore, that's why they are determined not to let regime change happen in Zimbabwe. Of course, ANC knows that Zanu PF has managed to stay in power these last 43 years by rigging elections. And the party is set to rig the 2023 elections. Zanu PF is counting on SADC, notably South Africa's ANC government, to once again turn a blind eye to the election flaws and irregularities and grant Zanu PF political legitimacy. Something that clearly the ANC government is keen to do. What is happening here is we have got the ANC government that has failed. And what they're doing is using the fiddler crab strategy of surrounding itself with crabs whose fiddler claw is much smaller than its own. So that by comparison, compared to its neighbors, its own looks huge and thus attract the females. I think what Zimbabweans have got to reject here is this sinister way of being used by the ANC failed leaders, of using Zimbabwe and Zimbabweans as their own sacrificial guinea pigs. In the same sinister way, Russia's Putin is using Ukraine. The right of the people of Zimbabwe to free, fair, and credible election is not negotiable. And to keep on endorsing a flawed election just to keep Zanu PF in power is totally unacceptable. The people of Zimbabwe, in a free, fair, and credible election, are the only ones who have got the right to decide who is to govern Zimbabwe. And that right includes removing the incumbent government if they so wish. This talk of there must be no regime change is a nonsense in a democratic election. We want free, fair, and credible election. We have fought hard for the last 43 years for free, fair, and credible elections. We know Zanu PF is rigging these elections. We know that SADC, by right, should stop endorsing rigged elections and grant Zanu PF legitimacy. And we are not going to sit by and let ANC, just for its selfish reasons, continue turning a blind eye to rigged elections in Zimbabwe. That's because the party is scared that regime change in Zimbabwe could encourage South Africans to do the same. South Africans have enjoyed the last 30 years free, fair, and credible elections. That is what we want to in Zimbabwe. And I think the people of South Africa should wake up to this ANC maneuvering and realize that the consequence of this is undermining their own democratic system. Because make no mistake about it, if the ANC government, in its desperation to hang on to power, was to start tampering with the electoral system, you can bet that the rest of SADC will too turn a blind eye to those flaws and irregularities. And alas, for South Africa, its democracy will be undermined in a way that it may never recover again. We never had a democracy in Zimbabwe, and we are fighting for a democracy. South Africa have a democratic system, and I think they should fight to preserve it. Meanwhile, we are not going to allow the ANC government to use Zimbabwe in the same sinister way that the Russians are using Ukraine. Thank you and good night.